I'm not doing much. I'm just silent, connecting with these energies, and usually immediately they can feel something, even if they are not sensitive. It's like when you open these channels, the energies start working. But sometimes you cannot receive the full healing during the moment of the session. So the energies continue to work on them after, sometimes to 3 weeks. It's more usual to see the effect almost immediately, but sometimes it takes 2 3 weeks to see the full power of the healing.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to this special episode of Harmony Helpers. I am with Fabio Campos today. He is a healer, a natural healer, not a healer by occupational choice, so to speak, but really someone who had to be guided into that gently from the universe. And we want to see how that looks like, how healing can look like from a different plane than fixing. And I am very excited that you are here with me today, Fabio. Maybe you want to introduce yourself to us today.
I'm really happy to be here. Uh, yeah, as you said, it's a very funny history because I always refused to be a healer. But after some time, I started to receive more and more messages, and these messages became more and more intense. So I was draw for healing. I mean, I would say not by direct choice, but by guidance. Uh, yeah, and healing to me, it's way more than fixing people or things like that.
Wonderful. When you say it's more than fixing people, does it include fixing people? And what is it more than that?
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's what I will tell you started, let's say, as a belief or as a download, but after downloading it, I received so many confirmations from my reality and the reality around people that I did healing sessions that now it's more, let's say, than a belief, it's a certainty. So what I feel nowadays, it's like we have, first of all, we have a amazing, we don't usually we don't have any idea about our power of creation. So our power of creation is much bigger than we usually imagine. And actually, the reality around us and our body, too, but not only our body, but the physical reality around us, they are actually symbols and messages to guide us through situations, through lessons, through life missions, and things like that. And diseases are just something that also has to do with message. So we keep receiving all kinds of messages to nudge us on the right direction, let's say. And uh, eventually, the message that we receive it can also be in the form of diseases or in the form of accidents or in the form of something that happens to us in our 3D reality. So also things that comes to our mind out of the blue. So all those things has to do with healing. When I talk about healing, I'm talking more, and this is really difficult to put in words, like moving energy in the sense of allowing myself or the people to run their own energy. When I say their own energy is the energy that comes from their higher self and above. And in doing that, they receive messages. And when those messages are, let's say, decoded or integrated, they achieve the healing. But we also have to be aware that those messages usually they are multi-layered, in the sense that usually the message is not only for the people that are between quotes being healed, but also for people around his or her, also to me, and also to the universe and things like that.
Wow, that sounds really integrating. I mean, I had the opportunity to have a session with you, so I know very well what you're referring to and how that looks like, how it feels like, how gentle you guide people through that, and how little it has to do with fixing and with bringing someone from here to there. As you said, it's something where you empower people to find the energy within them from their highest self. It's like being guided from the higher orchestration instead of focusing on controlling and trying to make things happen. It sounds to me and feels as if it's more of a guidance into allowing. Is that adequate to say?
Yeah, to me, yeah, I think you just described another way of explaining the same thing, but I will explain in a third way. Yeah, what I feel, it's like we are always guided, but sometimes I say we put a colored lens, so we see this guidance through some color that it's not really, let's say, the direct or the more adequate message, let's say. Uh, and again, maybe I'm simplifying too much in saying message, because message are something really powerful. It's like message to me can be something, let's say, objective, but can also be something that is a realization, can be something that is that small nudge that your higher self was trying to give you, yeah, to make you awake or things like that. uh, so yeah, I think you are spot on when you say that it's a kind of guidance, but in my belief system, everything is a kind of guidance, even our outer reality, you know.
Oh, that's so true. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So are people naturally guided to you, or how do they get in touch with you? Let's say, how is their pull towards healing, which is quite uncommon, an uncommon way of healing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is really funny because when I start receive message to really, let's say, heal somebody besides me, besides myself, I really doubt those messages, but they came from several different sources, not only from me. Uh, and I mean, all my life I received this message, but I always ignored them, because to me healing was, this is a kind of shameful nowadays to my humanity to say, but healing to me was something, let's say, very small, you know. Yeah, something non-important. So I always ignored this kind of call. But it was funny because, I mean, I'm a seeker, so since very young I was drawn to this, to all kinds of, let's say, esoteric knowledge or things like that. And it was funny because even going to different, let's say, schools like shamans in Peru, or schools of Buddhism in Nepal and things like that, people always recognized me as a healer, and I was, no, please don't do that. I don't want to be a healer. So what happened when I start to receive this message from different sources to be a healer? uh, I said to my higher self and to my guides that first I would like to see miraculous things happening, to my humanity be totally sure about the message. And and I saw those things, I still see those things. I mean, I cannot say that. I mean, nowadays I'm more, how can I say, in a state of non-expectancy, but uh, uh, my ego is still fine, interesting when miracles happen. Yeah, but what happened? So after some time, it is you are being prepared. So first, at least in my experience, I don't know about others, but in my experience, I started to receive people that I could confirm myself as a healer. After some time, and this was, let's say, planned or guided. I started to receive people that I would never choose myself because, I mean, it would be challenging or frightening. So I started to receive people that were totally skeptics, and they were drawn by, well, chance, chance between quotes, because nothing is chance, but I would say nowadays, I would say by contracts. So I believe that who comes to me now, now it's not a belief, it's a certainty. Now I know that people that comes to me, they had some kind of contract with me, uh, and this contract is just the delivery of the messages and things like that. Uh, so after some time, I started to draw people. Uh, I mean that I would never choose. Like for example, really complicated things like psychotic people, people with more than one personality, and for example, people that are suicidal. And again, I'm just for the records, I'm not saying that this kind of thing, because otherwise you will be uh, persecuted by the Orthodox medicine. I'm not saying that I'm healing these people. I'm just saying that we are giving them messages, and these messages usually help them. So in the beginning, when skeptic people started to look for me, it was really surprising. But on the other hand, they were the people that received the strongest, the strong, the strongest message, and they, wow, totally transformed their lives after the sessions. Yeah, so now I can totally see where these contracts came from, you know. Yeah, and they come in the most surprising way. So it's very unusual, but usually I receive message to heal specific people. So once I received a message, like for example, but this is not the most common way, but I received a message, for example, call a given person and say to her, and this person was like a total skeptic, an atheist and things like that before, and and say to her, ask your inner child if you should come to a healing session. And it was so funny because I just actually I was so, let's say, ashamed or shy to say this message. Uh, I mean, by calling by audio, that I sent a WhatsApp message, and it was like surprising because it was like 3 minutes after this lady said, "Okay, uh, can it be now? I'm just in the train station, taking the train to your home." Yeah, because I never imagined but my inner child that I don't even know what it is about send me to go to your healing session.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah. So yeah, things start to happen actually out of the blue. uh, Nowadays, let's say it's more, how can I say, I'm more used to it, but it was like a neighbor that not even imagined that I was a healer asking me to, wow, I mean, again, I'm trying to avoid, let's say, breach of privacy, but I have several neighbors. Okay, I haven't. So she came to me, for example. Wow, I have a tumor, and I know that you can do something. So I totally understand that I'm open to what happens, but please do, and things like that. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That is really amazing.
yeah,
And also, the challenge seems to be also not just in healing, which might not even be a challenge since it
yeah,
comes naturally to you and it seems you just follow the guidance. You don't perceive yourself as the one who does healing. You more of open the space for healing to be invited to occur. Healing, we will speak about that, what that means to you. But for now, it seems to me as if the challenge for you lies more so in going with the guidance that you feel, like following your own guidance and reaching out to people, which is a thing that might be challenging for so many of us when we feel, okay, that person is supposed to be contacted, and um, we feel like, but it feels awkward.
yeah.
And that can be the main challenge of our entire flow of being on planet Earth and serving with our gifts. Wonderful. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
congratulations
Uh,
for going about that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I consider myself, and I learned that very, let's say, very soon when I start to do these sessions. I consider myself a vessel, like a messenger. I'm not the message or even the sender. Uh, so yeah, this helped me a lot. I mean, my personality, let's say, my humanity, because some things are really, how can I say, uh, surprising. But when I say surprising, really, I mean, I would never do that or say that, or you know what I mean. But since the beginning, I learned that. I mean, I was guided to that, and so now it's funny because it's a totally natural thing. Uh, because I took out of my, let's say, also, I mean, this is true, but it's also comfortable, a little bit more comfortable to me, because takes my personal responsibility out of the equation, you know. Yeah, yeah. So as you said, I consider myself a vessel. I even try, not I even try, I even do all kinds of techniques to avoid mixing energies, because it's not my energy that is being used to do the healing, but sometimes we entangle ourselves by not on purpose. So I even do separation techniques and things like that. Yeah, and I try to not interfere in any kind of energy people has. Yeah, but it's funny. It's funny. It's really funny in the sense of. In the beginning, this was a confirmation to my ego or to my humanity, uh, that I was being guided. Because, for example, sometimes I do things that I would never, or say things that I would never say myself, you know, or that if it was a personal advice, I would advise that total opposite of things. So when this happens, I mean, it's a kind of confirmation to me, because wow, this thing is crazy. I would never say or do that. Yeah,
Yes. Whoa. I love how you phrase that, that you try not to entangle, that you try not to um, go in with your energy, which is quite a different approach than most of the healing approaches that are there, where people feel to be the healer, feel that their energy, their light heals something in someone else. So instead of making yourself the actor, you really give the action or let the action be with the actor, the protagonist of life in everyone's life, which is always the subject,
Yeah,
the person himself, herself. Now I'm wondering, the person that receives healing, how does it feel for that person? Is it a mind process? Is it a perspective shift? Or does actually a frequency change or anything invisible happen where they don't have to do something with the message after they received it?
yeah. I would say that there are all kinds of combinations. So it's not one size fits all, uh, because it's like what happens in each healing moment is what is allowed to happen in that moment. So some people are allowed to contact. So for example, I think to explain that better, uh, we have to imagine, or we have to keep in mind that we have several, let's say, sources of information. And again, it comes back to the message that were talking about. So we have several sources of information. So, for example, you have the energy field that is closer to you. So imagine this energy field that is closer to you. You have information about several things, but you are usually, if you don't take energetic, let's say, care of yourself, you are also receiving a lot of energy from the place you are, from the people you talk with, even from ancestrality and things like that. So this is one source of information. Another source of information, and for sure your higher self is also there, but it's mixed with all these things. If we talk with your higher self, let's say, or if we use energy or messages from your higher self, the information will be regarding this incarnation. So the lessons or the experiences or your life mission and things like that. But your higher self, it's not, let's say, the end of the energetic chain. So you have even more subtle or higher vibration energy that you can access. So there is something that I call superconscious. It's like a stream of energy, and you can access if you are allowed to. I mean, in the sense of we are always in contact with all these again, all these streams of energy of information, but sometimes we color them so much that we don't receive the message as something that is, let's say, easy to decode or to integrate. So if we access something above the higher self, and again, it will happen what should happen at each moment. Uh, we can access this layer of energy that is very connected with universal love or undiluted love, as I like to say. In other words, very connected with Source or God or other names that you can use. It doesn't matter. So if you access this layer of energy, it's funny in some sense because this layer of energy, it's not really, let's say, concerned with your incarnation. It's more concerned with, let's say, the eternal being that you are. So what happens? If we use the energy from the higher self, that in some sense it's also connected with this energy, but it's like the awareness of the higher self in our specific case is with this incarnation that we are contacting him or her or it. Uh, so if we contact something higher than the higher self, it doesn't matter if you will be keeping lessons or things for other incarnations. Yeah. So because it's like there is no time. So everything is possible. So in that sense, everything is has potential to be healed. Uh, so what happens? Depending if the energy that is being used at that moment is the energy from, imagine, for example, maybe you are depressive, but you are depressive because you are very empath, so you are receiving a lot of energy from other people that you have contact with, or from your family, or from things like that. So if this energy is moved, you'll be feeling better. Uh, if we are contacting your higher self or using the energy of your higher self, and again, the words are tricky because it's not like that the energy is there, but we are, let's say, more aware or seeing more clearly, or things like that, or tuning more. Yeah, we can try to explain, but it's difficult. Uh, it's more like you be nudged in the right direction to feel what you have to feel in this life, and you have to fulfill also in this life. And if you are allowed to, because sometimes what happens, and again, I'm not trying to evangelize anyone, but this is just based on my observations of reality. Okay, it's not even something coming from a school of thought or something like that. Just based on my experience. Uh, what happens? It's like I compare a lot with a video game. So our higher selves are, let's say, playing a video game with our personality. Yeah. So it's a way of experience things. Like when we are playing a video game, we try to fulfill lessons or stages or steps or just have fun playing. But sometimes the character that we are, let's say, being there or living in the game, they don't do precisely what we would like. So we try to nudge them to, or it, or him or her to do what we want, but it's not always like that. Otherwise, the game will be really boring because you will be always winning on the first try without learning anything. So we have to learn how to, let's say, to control this character. Control, it's maybe it's not the best word for this situation, but we have to know how to manage what's happening around the character, how the character will interpret what's happening in the game and react about it to avoid, let's say, losing life or losing power or things like that. So, but in some sense, as we don't have time, imagine that actually the higher self is playing at the same time, let's say thousands and thousands of the same game with the same character. Okay. Uh, so actually, we have, let's say, infinite timelines, and we can decide, maybe decide again, it's not the best word, but we can more or less choose between different timelines. We can even, let's say, end some timelines because it's not worthwhile to pursue this lesson in this lifetime and move to another lifetime. And we can even choose another universe to experience the same lesson and things like that. So what happens when we access this upper layer above our higher self? This upper layer has, let's say, more, again, in an absence of a better word, more visibility about all the possibilities we can experience. So in this specific sense, this higher layer, because if it detects that our humanity is suffering in a not worthwhile way to process this thing, can do several kinds of healing. So all these conversation was to explain that sometimes people have to decode the message, they have to understand the message, but sometimes they don't need to understand the message because the message will be more like what just happened and will happen to them. So the message won't be, let's say, something logical. It will be the transformation that they will see on their lives. And sometimes they are healed, and this is a between quotes funny thing. They are healed just to show them that if they change their belief to the old pattern, they will have the problem again.
Ah, yes, understood.
So it's really not complex, but it is really varied or diverse, because sometimes you have to really, let's say, integrate the message. Sometimes you don't need to even be aware of the message, because the transformation in your life or in your reality will be the message. Uh, yeah, and sometimes the message is not even just for you, or it's mailing to other people, you know. So yeah, you have a lot of variation in this situation. So for
Yes.
example, uh, I saw miracles happening, but those miracles were, let's say, associated with specific message that the people refused to integrate. Uh, for example, because again, our power of creation, we have to understand that where this message come from ourselves. So they are not coming from a angry god or something like that, and it's not even from an angry us. What happens is, in determinada in some given situations, for example, when we are in between incarnations, we choose our lessons. It's not like someone is choosing for us. We chose our lessons when we were in between incarnations. Uh, for sure, we are also guided. So it's not like you are not. Everybody is helped during this choosing process. Let's say. Uh, but we also choose the levels and the types of message that you would like to receive. So, for example, if you have an accident, or if you have a disease, or if we are having the reality around us bothering us, let's say, this was a kind of message that we chose. It's not someone else who chose. Uh, so for example, if we are dealing with the superconscious can understand that, let's say, again, in the absence of a better word, we were too enthusiasmed when we chose the message, and this enthusiasm is taking a too high or too big toll in our humanity in this incarnation. So this is my belief, at least. The superconscious can, let's say, okay, let me remove this message to yeah.
Okay, yes, yes.
Why I'm saying that? Because, for example, uh, yeah, sometimes you the person that you are, let's say, doing the session with, he or she is very young. So, for example, I had sessions with very young people, like 4 years old, 5 years old, yeah, things like that. So, for sure, the message, not always, but for sure, in most of these cases, the messages are not only for this child, let's say, and also they are not, let's say, rational things in the sense that as adults we would perceive as rational things. Yeah.
So when you say it can be taken away again, or the a message, then yeah, you might explain that. Mhm.
Yeah, it can. For example, yeah, I forgot to say. Actually, I lost myself in my thoughts. Yeah, what happens? For example, again. so we are creating everything, okay? Even the message we are creating. Uh, so what happens? If you receive it, so I will call grace, but it's not grace in a religious sense. It's grace in the sense of this channel that was opened between the person and this kind of energy, the higher self, or even above the higher self. Okay, so when I say grace, it's like that channel was cleansed and people received this message or this energy, or you can call any kind of word. But again, it, it's not in as an excuse to transfer your power, or even to ignore your power of creation. So what happens? I saw people being miraculously healed, but after, if they think that they can, for example, make this X disease an advantage, in this situation, I also saw, not every time, but I also saw the disease come back, for example. So I will exemplify. I have a friend, and this friend was healed, but this friend used, let's say, uh, old exams from the doctor to get a leave. So this friend recreated the disease again. Yeah,
Wow, so he
yeah,
took advantage of in
yeah,
the illness or
yeah,
issue he had in order
yeah,
to get a leave from work, and
yeah,
then he drew that into his reality again, made it part of his reality,
yeah,
and there it was again.
yeah. But what happens? You see, and it seems to be, you can even see eventually, if you are drawn to this kind of thing, to see it as karma. But actually, it's everything is divine orchestrated. So what happened in this specific case? Afterwards, I mean, the disease came back, but she learned afterwards with, I mean, it was much more time consuming, and let's say with much more human effort, she learned how to heal herself. So now I can see the orchestration. I mean, it's easy to in hindsight to see the orchestrations. So now I can see the orchestration. Like, okay, she needed to know that this grace, as I said, it's possible. So she was healed, and it was like, based on orthodox medicine, it was an unhealable disease. So he was healed. He checked by the orthodox physicians that she was healed. Uh, she provoked the disease again because she took advantage of the disease. So in her, and again, our subconscious is really powerful. So her subconscious recreated. I was avoiding telling the gender, but now it's too late. Yeah, uh, yeah. But she, even if she sees the record, she will be happy to because she is very happy with what happened to her. Yeah. Uh, so she recreated the disease and she healed herself again.
Yes.
And in this process, I mean, she says to me, "Wow, my life changed, and it's not only regarding the disease. Now, my reality and the way I see things and the way I see existence, yeah, totally changed. I cannot recognize myself as I was. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
With that example, we can see that healing is not a switch from one state to a different one. It really is a life concerning change. And as you described with her with her example, it's even going back. to the issue, going back to the health problem, gives you clues about your power. And in her, on her path, it might seem like karmic situations and she receiving a punishment for using it to her advantage. But actually, what was the experience, as we can see it now, if we want to see it that way, is that she got an experience where she understood on a deeper level that she was responsible for everything, that she could create things, and that they benefited her. Even the health issue benefited her, and then changing it by choosing differently, by seeing that it was a choice in the first place, it was a choice in the second place, and now it's the new choice. And it's even more powerful because it's not by accident. It was not going to Fabio and he healed her. And if he wouldn't have done that, she would have been stuck with that for the rest of her life. It's it's really about orchestration, about allowing, and about re-owning the power that we all have. Isn't that true?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. Again, I totally agree. And I see so many layers of this message, because yeah, maybe this one, maybe it's again, it's tricky to believe, but yeah, based on what I have been seeing, uh, yeah, we are in a time that I wouldn't say most of us, because I think for some people they are already aware of that, but to a lot of us, it's important to see. It's like sometimes I feel that people just need a small trigger to awake to these things, and sometimes these triggers, they are they can be miracles. Not, I mean, I'm not, let's say, uh, saying that the sun rising every day is not a miracle, or we waking up and breathing every day, it's not a miracle. I'm not saying that, but on the other hand, I totally see, because it happened with myself, that to be sure about some things, to our humanity or personality, to be sure about some things. So, for example, uh, before I saw miracles, I believed in them, but believed, you know, when you believe, but it's not really a certainty in your mind. But after seeing so many, it's like, okay, miracles are much more common. This kind of miracle that we are talking, not, I mean, not the sun, and look, I'm respecting that. I'm not saying that the sun rising every day, it's not a miracle, but this kind of, let's say, colloquial miracle, that we see things that in our rational mind are impossible to happen, uh, also help us to really grasp, to really see as tangible, as part of our 3D reality, and not only something that is connected with a special state. So we can be in a state of miracle, for example. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. I look. I saw so many I mean, between quotes, because they are healable, unhealable. I think this is being healed. Uh, yeah, impressive things like tooth cavities disappearing. Yeah, and things like that. So when you see physical things happening, it's really impressive, like people with a broken tendon or something like that being healed in like hours, or things like that. It's really powerful to everyone involved. And again, healing is much more than just healing diseases. So sometimes, yeah, I, when you are dealing with these energies that they are connected, this is funny, okay? And I know that most people won't believe, but you can even heal things that are broken in your house or things like that, because it's like everything is energy, okay? For sure, you cannot have always the miracles that your ego are expecting. Uh, yeah, but yeah, I'm really fortunate, and I know that this is not, let's say, uh, swallowable by everybody, because I saw so many physical manifestations of these kind of high frequency energies. Uh, Even things like controlling lights and, yeah, moving things, yeah, that, yeah, to me is undoubtful. Yeah, and for sure, for the people that were part of these sessions, for sure they are undoubtful too. Yeah, yeah, and I think, as I said, I think if this is happening, is because we are in a situation that there is some purpose on those things happening. This is my belief. Yeah,
Yes. Sounds to me as if orchestration comes from a place that you facilitate, kind of. I mean, we see all kinds of stuff happening, and things are easy to believe when destruction hits, right? So
yeah,
things changing when there is a hit or an accident or anything, that's easy to believe. So that's why there is a huge power also in destruction, the
yeah,
transformational aspect of destruction. Yet in your case, it's the other way around, and it's like, how can things like that happen? And it seems as if it's way easier for people to allow unbelievable things, miracles to happen when there is someone who already knows that that's possible. Like you being the one who witnesses something that is natural for you allows others to allow supernatural stuff to happen.
yeah. I think so. Uh, some people say to me, I don't believe in any of those things, and I say to them, it doesn't matter at all. If you feel more comfortable, you can use my certainty. But even if you don't want to use my certainty, you can just disbelieve and see what happens.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So, who defines disease or ease, disease or health?
yeah. Again, I know that healing is very connected with healing disease, but uh, and to tell the truth, I mean, my impression so far doing healing sessions is that physical diseases are the easiest to be healed, actually. Uh, I mean, belief systems and things that are happening in your mind are, let's say, much deeper message that are based on my experience, and maybe this is just a belief that I have. Maybe this is not even true, but I'm talking based on my experience only. Okay, this is the tricky part, uh, because for example, what happens? I see people that comes to a healing and it is not uncommon. Okay, people comes from a healing session out of, again, they don't know why they are coming. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really a kind of contract that they have. So some of them they come, yeah, in the most surprising ways, yeah, I have so many different situations that people came out of the blue or without any idea, and this and this is really nice, I mean, to my humanity, because usually these people receive the strongest message. Yeah, because not the strongest, because this is also a problem of our humanity. There is no, let's say, in my opinion, there is no level of miracle. So there is no level of message. But to our humanity, it's like, okay, but this guy was a totally disbeliever, and now he's awake. So for our humanity, we still thinking about, let's say, a bigger message, because our humanity is seeing a bigger transformation. But actually, it doesn't matter. Yeah, yeah. So sometimes people come without knowing. Yeah, I have a friend, and wow, this was so funny. Uh, she was an actress. She came out of the blue, say, "Yeah, you talk about those things. I would like, yeah, but what is your idea or your purpose?" Or and no, I don't know. I just want to do a session and things like that. And yeah, she can afterwards. I mean, in hindsight, you can see all kinds of orchestration. It's easier. I mean, not that it's impossible to see at the moment, but usually when you look back, it's much easier to see the orchestration. But it's like totally changed her life. Sometimes, because healing, again, healing is much bigger than healing disease. So yeah, we have to be aware that as healing is bigger than the healing disease, sometimes the diseases are not healed. Sometimes the transformation that happens in your life is not even, and I am not saying that to frighten people, but it's not even in that direction that your ego would like.
Yes.
But sometimes the healing happens in the sense of pushing, or pushing is a awful word, nudging your life in a direction that you have to have even, how can I say, stronger situations to, or message to be able to really integrate and decode. Then yeah,
I love that you said that,
yeah,
since that sheds a different light on what you do. It's not coming from a place of this issue is what we are going to fix.
yeah,
And if we can't fix it, we haven't won anything, not gained anything. Instead, people come for whatever reason, and no one has to know actually what's going to happen. And even the disease can be the physical issue, can be part of the path that leads into more harmony. So I love that aspect, and that you pointed it out, since I feel that most of the time when we think of healing, we refer to a disease or an illness, anything that is an issue and needs fixing. So it's really a very different approach to bringing about a happy, healthy life.
yeah. I think so. I think so. Yeah, yeah. Again, it's funny nowadays. People has a lot of anxiety or panic attacks or things like that. Yeah, and again, I mean, again, in hindsight, it's always easy. Uh, you totally see that. And I'm not saying that out of judgment or out of say, okay, this is easy. Why are you doing, or why are you not understanding this message? I know that there is a challenge for, I mean, our passes are, we are here to experience, to learn, yeah. So I'm not, let's say, diminishing the effect of those things or what people are feeling. Yeah. But, uh, yeah, this is so associated with giving your power away, like projecting your power on external things. And yeah, so it's like, as I said, this kind of, let's say, not physical, non-physical thing usually is trickier to heal. So I saw people being healed like in minutes, and some people really struggle because uh, it's difficult to people to understand this relationship between what's happened to them or even to us and the message that we have to decode and recover our own power instead of projecting them. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. That makes perfect sense. Is every session a session where people are conscious while they receive the message, or do they go into kind of a trance state?
Yeah, what happens? The session that we did together, it was let's say, a specific kind of session. Uh, Actually, I well, let's say during a session, uh, how can I say? I see uh, what I'm guided to do. Okay, so what should I do to facilitate this connection? Let's say. So sometimes it's not something. For example, sometimes a session is totally silent. Not me, neither the person that is like doing the session that I'm facilitating the session to, they speak anything. So he or she will just relax. Not even relax. They don't need to relax. I need to relax. Okay, but I say to them, to tell the truth between us, I say to them, relax, because otherwise sometimes people get too excited or things like that. But just to manage better the session, but they don't even need to relax actually. Uh, but I need to relax to not to relax to let's say to enter uh, in my essence or in my heart to be able to communicate better with these channels and these things. So it can happen any combination of things. So for example, it's funny because when the session is silent, although I just tell people, yeah, if you prefer, close your eyes and just relax. And usually I have a reclining chair that I use for the sessions. So I mean, I don't instruct them to do anything, but usually they recline the chair and just relax. Uh, but it's funny. So from that point it depends in what is better for the person to receive. And I mean, this is not guided by me; it's guided by them. Uh, so it's really funny because some people they don't enter in a trance, but they enter in a state of relaxation so strong that sometimes I finish the session, uh, I go out of the room that I do the session. Sometimes I have a meal or something like that. Watch a lot of movies or something like that. I'm not really in movies, but just exemplify. Like hours after they wake up, what's happening? No, the session was like half an hour, 1 hour. You slept for 4 hours or something like that.
Wow, and you allow that. I love that.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is
yeah.
wonderful.
They enter and they say, "Wow, I'm really feeling light," and things like that. But it was like the energy is working on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's people decide not to relax. It's also not a problem, and the session is totally silent, and they keep like one eye open and one eye closed, seeing what I'm doing, and I'm not doing much because usually I'm just silent, connecting with these energies, and eventually, but it's not even all the times, do some kind of gesture or something like that. But this is not really a rule or something like that. Yeah. Uh, and they, wow, the session finished. Yeah, the session finished. Uh, and again, they usually, immediately they can feel something, even if they are not, let's say, sensible before, or they don't know that they are sensitive. And sometimes, not some, it's like when you open these channels, the energies start working. But sometimes this has to do with two things. Sometimes you cannot receive the full healing uh, during the moment of the session. So the energies continue to work on them after. Uh, in my mind, and again, this is just information that I receive, sometimes to 3 weeks. It's a Kabbalistic thing. Yeah, like 21 days. Yeah. So usually, not usually, sometimes, actually, it's more usual to see the effect almost immediately, but sometimes it takes 2 3 weeks to see the full, let's say, again, in a sense of a better word, the full power of the healing. Uh, yeah, and, and 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 you have all kinds of combinations between the person that just black out and entered in a very deep state of relaxation, and the person that was totally awake and seeing what I'm doing. Yeah, and it's really boring because I'm not doing physically uh, anything, you know. Yeah, yeah, and wow, but you have so it's like Malina. I consider myself fortunate because I saw so many things. So I saw one person. It wasn't like levitating. It wasn't levitating. Okay, it wasn't. But it was like her body did so strong movements that it seemed to be levitating. But I think it was a muscle response. Okay, but it's still impressive because imagine how is it possible a person laying down, okay, jump with the whole body out of the bed or the reclining chair. Yeah, as something like the whole body jumping.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Usually that would take lots of effort and training.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this one, I must confess, in the beginning, I was a little bit frightened because I say, wow, if the session is beginning like that, how this thing will progress. But this is our humanity or our personality interfering in the process, you know? You
Mm.
have to really. And, and it was funny because when this person, let's say, when we finished the session, she was, no, I wasn't doing that. I said, "Wow, you were. I, I promise you, because it was impossible to mistake what you are doing. It wasn't like a small vibration, you know. It was like boof, boof, boof. Yeah." She preferred to lay down in a bed. I have another room that if people are more, let's say. Uh, I don't know. I mean, if people feel more comfortable in laying down in a bed, I also have that because I think it's better than in this kind of massage thing because sometimes it's too not too wide or things like that. So if people prefer, and the specific lady preferred to lay in a bed instead of in the reclining chair, uh, but it was like and she it was so impressive because she had like a mantle over her because she was feeling cold in the beginning. Yeah, but so even the mantle and everything was jumping, and that was wow.
Wow, it's really impressive. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love the way you describe all of this, and it seems to be a very unorthodox way of bringing about change for the betterment of the individual's life and also their surroundings. As you said, it's not always about the person herself, himself, itself, but at times it's really about others or messages that hit home for even third party people. Yeah.
Yeah, and now you reminded me of one thing that is also impressive. What happens if you have someone uh, that is very sensitive? You can also make use of what? Let me try to one step back. If you have someone that easily access the upper layer of the superconscious, that thing that's connected with undiluted love, it's really, let's say, funny between quotes, because you can also use this person, not only myself, so someone else that has no prior knowledge of healing, for example, or prior experience, let's say, of healing. Prior knowledge probably he or she has from past lives, okay, but yeah, not in this lifetime, let's say. You can also use him or her as a vessel, as a channel, look, not only to heal other people, but to heal animals and to ask about message for other people that they never met, or to animals.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
That is amazing. So
yeah,
once someone has access to the superconscious,
yeah,
they can bring messages for like anyone if
yeah.
it is allowed, if it's in
Exactly, exactly.
divine
If
orchestra.
it's not allowed, the message will be okay. I cannot say anything, or
Yes.
we cannot discuss that. Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
So I had an experience, and this was a guy, and the guy had a very specific question, and we did several sessions. Every time we accessed and this guy was really, let's say, sensitive in this. Not only sensitive, since again, it's the words are tricky when we talk about those things. But this guy was really, let's say, always had an easy time accessing the superconscious, but every time the superconscious, the message was, okay, he's not ready for the answer yet. Yeah. So we tried like along a year, and every other question was answered, but this specific one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the stories with the Indian gurus when
Yeah.
someone came and they wanted to become their disciple and they said, "No, you're not ready yet." And then
Yeah.
came back every day. And once he took him to the ocean or some river, and then he dived him deep into the water until he was almost dying. And then when he let go, and the person that wanted to become a disciple got out of the water, he was like, what are you doing? What did you do? You almost killed me." And then the master said to him, "When you want to be my disciple as much as you wanted to grasp air when you were underwater, then you are ready to receive the wisdom through me." So it sounds as if
Nice.
it really needs, and oftentimes it's not even conscious, right? People might say consciously, "I want healing, I want a better life, I want different, want to make different choices." But when it's not on a very deep level, then it might not be true.
Yeah.
It might not be allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like if it's something that it's not, let's say, that you are not able to integrate, really integrate in that moment, it won't happen. I mean, uh, and again, it won't happen because not because there is a kind of punishment or things like that, but simply because it's not your moment. Yeah,
I love what you said because
yeah,
you said to integrate, you're not ready to integrate it.
yeah.
So that really goes into the direction that I feel is harmony. It's not about getting rid of something. It's not about cutting that out of your life. It's embracing the choice you made to make a new one. And that's probably the most powerful thing that lets us know why at times we don't receive healing because we are so attached to not have this thing in our life that we bring in energy more and again instead of letting it be an option and moving from that option to a different one as our primary choice of life experience.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I mean, and I agree 100% of what you just said. Very well put, and I would say that to me, I'm not even taking it, let's say, lightly or judging, because I also feel in myself the message that I'm not able to integrate yet. Yeah. So I'm not saying that okay, the others have this problem. No, I also have these problems. A lot of the message coming from facilitated healing are to me too. You know, a lot of synchronicities that happen because look, we are talking again about physical healing, but also people say things when they don't need, or even they need and they received physical healing, but also people describe a lot of synchronicities and things like that that start to happen when they receive these kind of messages and things like that. Yeah, but look, yeah, I totally feel then because even with the synchronicities, even with all this message, I also am not able to integrate everything in myself. Yeah,
Which makes you more gentle with
yeah,
the ones who come to you, which is a wonderful thing. That's something that I really appreciate about you, that you don't put yourself on a pedestal. You don't feel that now that I have healed myself, I can heal the others, or now that I am healed, or even now that I am a healer, I am better than the others. It's it's really, from my perspective, a very, very important or crucial thing to have, to know that whenever we see limitations in others, we might have some on our own, so ourselves, which allows us to be beyond judgment and really embrace the path of everyone as an individual experience, as an adventure, as a life that has certain things that allow people to to tell a story of I lived through this and that, and it's exciting and not just the boring I have always been perfect and that's what I see and that's what is. So
yeah,
respecting choices and also our own, and seeing that we are perfect in not being perfect and we can allow ourselves our path as it unfolds.
yeah,
It's really powerful.
yeah. I totally agree. The message that I received about that, it's like we are, no one is special, but we are all unique. Yeah. So the singularity in us is what allows source to experience through us, but there is no level, let's say, of this guy or this lady is special. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was really, really insightful. Now, I guess some of those who have watched this might feel drawn to having a session with you, be it a healing session with a specific problem that can be solved or seems to be an option to solve that with you together, or be it just because it feels like reaching out. How can they get in touch with you?
It's easy. They can, for example, have an idea of what I do, accessing my website, livingbytheheart.com, everything together, livingbytheheart.com.
Wonderful. Livingbytheheart.com. We will put
Yeah.
that into the description section.
Okay.
And there they also find a way to reach out to you, right? And to contact you.
Yeah, exactly. So there they can find all my contacts, even a contact for if they prefer not using email, but there is my email and all my directions there. Yeah.
Wonderful. Are you open for healing sessions or are you booked like for the next half year?
No, I'm still open. I still have some slots. Yeah, sometimes it's an awkward time, but yeah, I'm available still. Yeah.
Wonderful. And
Mm.
you do sessions live and via Zoom, is that true? So where
Exactly,
people
exactly.
are.
Yeah, some sessions we do on person, some sessions we do online. I think it depends in a series of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if people are somewhere where you are not, where are you located, by the way?
In Netherlands, in Breda. Yeah. South of Netherlands. But sometimes I also go to Brazil. I have been doing several healing sessions when I go there. Yeah, too.
So you are originally from Brazil,
From
and
Brazil. Yeah.
which languages do you provide healing in?
Yeah, only in English and Portuguese. But I mean, people don't need to be really fluent to receive any of the sessions. But they have at least to understand a little bit of English or Portuguese.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. That is so, so perfect. So there is no limits to anyone reaching out to you, no matter where they are, they can do so. And even if they don't know whether healing or having a session with you might be an option, they can just reach out and see what unfolds, right?
Yeah, what I usually say is that they, it has to resonate with them and they should come without expectations. Although I know that it's almost impossible, but just come. Uh, or maybe with the expectation that at least you have a relaxing time, a joyful or fun time. Yeah.
That brings me to one last question. Is it possible or does it make any sense to send someone to you? Like, go to him, he's gonna help you when there is resistance, maybe from that person?
Yeah. What happens, I think, is the person has to come. What I mean by that? Uh, I don't think that is really efficient. For example, if let's say a mother is doing a session for the daughter or something like that, uh, unless the daughter is too young to let's say to decide by herself, uh, but it's not really, let's say, efficient. Let's say a husband doing a session for the wife, or unless again the wife is unconscious or something like that. Uh, because if it is the case, there is the connection of love, for example. But even if there is a connection of love and the person can have their decisions, I, I think to be efficient, it's nice. So it's tricky because you said, okay, if someone push someone else to come to a session, okay, but this someone else is feeling that he or she should come, or he or she is being obligated to come. Like it's a father telling the daughter, "You should go anyway," or something like that. Or is some because it's funny because what happened? I received several situations in which I mean, again, without judgment, people were in despair, or people were like not even having a clue about what to do about a specific life situation. Sometimes it's not related to disease at all. It's related, let's say, to job offers or things like that. And they come. So it's tricky because they say rationally that they don't believe, but they came. So in their instance, they believed, because otherwise they wouldn't just waste time. Yeah,
So true.
yeah,
Yes, oh, wonderful.
yeah,
So it makes sense when there is any kind of allowance from
yeah,
the one who receives the healing,
yeah.
but pushing someone to do that, that wouldn't make any sense, right?
No, no, yeah, I think so. Sometimes again, people came out of despair. Despair is not in a bad sense, like, okay, I have no other option. I'm totally lost, or I received this amazing job offer, but to accept this offer, it will totally change my life. So sometimes the motivation is, let's say, not related to physical disease. And if this kind of person feel inclined to come, I think her or his essence believes something. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, that's for sure.
yeah.
Perfect. So, is there anything you want to address to everyone who has listened up until now to part with or to give them for their further way?
Yeah, I'd say I hope everybody find peace, be happy, and be free from illusions. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, dear Fabio. It has been a pleasure to speak with you today. And I am very, very, very fond of what you do and how you show up in the world as the very loving and harmony bringing presence that you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Yeah.